All right, well, let's just jump into it. All right, Justin Allgaier with us. Justin, it's been a very successful season for you. 3 wins already. Talk to me a little bit about what you've experienced this season so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great season to come off of a championship last fall and kind of hit the ground running. Starting out 2025. I think a lot of times that's the biggest challenge, right? Is how do you respond? When you have success at the end of a season, how do you kind of respond to the next year? And this seven team and really junior motorsports as a whole has come out of the box, and as a company, we've won an amazing amount of races, right? I really can't believe how many we've been able to knock down as an organization, and that's a big deal for us, and I'm super proud of what we've accomplished, and the goal now is how do we keep that going, right? How do you kind of stay hot as you get to the playoffs and kind of on through the playoffs and into the final rounds, and if we can do that, I feel really good about our chances at going for a championship later on this fall.
Talk to me about the challenges of that. Obviously, you're second in points right now behind a very talented driver in Connor Zilic. But what do you guys have to do to kind of not only just catch him but surpass him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, this last month and a half, 2 months has been really difficult for us. As good as we fired off the beginning of the year, we've given up. I think at one point we had a 150 points lead, and just feel like no matter what we had kind of done, right? We had speed and we were running up front and we were gaining stage points, doing all these things, but just not able to top it all off and to get the finishes that we felt like we deserved. And I think that Connor and his team on the 88 side, they've done an amazing job, and they've really turned up the wick and put themselves in a great position to be in the position they're in. I don't know if we can catch them or not, but I think for us, the points are a unique scenario. I think we have to be mindful of kind of what race we can control. Go out each week, try to be better, and really just learn, right? I think as a driver, as many years as I've done this, you're still learning. You're still working on yourself kind of internally and looking at that reflection of, okay, how do I get better? How do I do a better job of executing on a race weekend? And the team does the same. And that can be difficult when you're having rough patches, right? Because you sometimes want to bite off a little more than you can chew, because you're behind. But we've talked immensely about how well of a race team we have, and how well our race team is done, and what we kind of have as a base. And I think that if as long as we do what we know how to do and we show up at the racetrack every week, kind of as our normal, there should be no excuses as to why we can't go to the racetrack and have a shot at winning or winning these races.
Real quick before we start talking about P.I.R. And your Xfinity race out here, obviously everybody's seen what happened to Connor celebrating that victory. Kind of just walk me through what went through your head when you saw it, and have you had any issue or any situations like that where something has happened or taken a tumble, say in victory like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we kind of knew something was going on, right? It kind of in the moment there was, because it was live on TV, and we were all kind of back at the hauler already, just loading up and getting stuff put away. I think the first thought is, for me, I saw it live and kind of, you don't know what to expect, right? And I mean, it's a scary situation, and obviously, a broken collarbone is not a little injury, right? That's a big injury, but when you look at the scale of what could have happened and what could have transpired out of all of it, I would say that we're super blessed, that it wasn't a lot worse than it was. And Connor was great spirit in great spirits, kind of right away, and I think it's probably been a little more difficult than he would like to have been, right? You want to be celebrating, not getting surgery a couple of days after a victory, but I think at the same time, it's really rallied this team. Everybody had a sense of urgency to figure out what they needed to do to be able to help Connor. Once we realized Connor was okay, well, how do we transition that into what needs to happen on the race team side and moving the program forward? How do we get him comfortable? Get the right doctors. All these different things that I think are very valid in a situation like we're in. And this company, the success of Junior Motorsports is really about kind of the success of all four or five whenever we run the fifth car of all of those teams kind of combined, right? If one car is winning all of the races and the others are running 25th every week, the company doesn't have the same energy. It doesn't have the same kind of fire to keep it growing and moving forward. And I think that this team has rallied behind the success that we've had on the racetrack. It's rallied behind Connor's injury, and I'm excited about where our company's headed. Not only short term but long term. And as Connor's healed up, it's been good to watch kind of his progress, right? And the time of the schedule couldn't have been more perfect of having that off weekend and kind of allowing the doctors to do what they needed to do for Connor to be able to get him in the best shape he can be so he can get back in the race car. So really making the most out of an unfortunate situation.
That's really awesome, man. Let's talk about Portland International Raceway. Obviously, you've had two back-to-back second place finishes out there. Tell me, what do you like about driving out here in the Northwest?
I dislike not winning races as close as we've been the last 2 years, but um, to be that close and to be leading with I think we were leading on the white flag of both of those events, right? So it's kind of rough when you don't pull it off. But at the same time, I'm really proud of the race cars that we bring. I think Jim Pullman and this whole seven team do a great job of showing up and having the knowledge and the testing and the ability to show up with a car that we know is capable of winning, right? Those are important things. As a driver, I think the racetrack is just a lot of fun. It's a great facility. It's somewhere that I think the racing is phenomenal, but also to just the facilities are kept up well. The racetrack is laid out in a way that is super. Uh, it's super fun to drive, but also can be challenging and tricky, and you have to be on your A game. And so all of those things kind of combined, it makes for a really cool, fun weekend. And obviously, when you're running a front, it makes it really easy to enjoy a racetrack. But I just think the fans probably are what make it the most fun for me, and just seeing the fanfare that we get for that weekend, and how well attended it is, and how much fun everybody's having kind of around the course of the weekend. It just makes it even more cool to have an opportunity to do that.
Talk to me about how important qualifying is. Obviously, some places, it doesn't matter really where you qualify. You're going to be able to move up or at least kind of move back and forth and determine your pace of race. But it seems like Portland is one of those tracks where you have to qualify up front if you want any chance of doing well.
Yeah, it's unique. I think a couple of things kind of fight you there, right? This racetrack, it's really easy to get a guy in front that maybe can do a little bit of blocking, right? And it's really easy to lose time. It's hard to gain time here, right? So if you're off a little bit and you're trying to kind of overdrive to pick up, maybe a tenth of a second here or half a tenth of a second there, sometimes that can lead you into overdriving it and actually slowing down, a half a second, right? You're trying to gain one tenth of a second, you slow down half a second. That doesn't work out real well. The other thing though that I think is a bigger difference here is when we go to, let's say, Watkins Glen, which was our last race before Daytona. Um, Watkins Glen, also a road course, but strategy is a big deal, right? And your pit crew and your pit stops can make a big determining factor of kind of when you get onto pit road, how far up you are or where you're at in track position. Portland is a little bit different because we don't have live competitive stops. We have kind of race breaks, and your style of racing is maybe a bit different than what a traditional style race would be. Both are fun. Both are equally as competitive. It's just a different style, and so I think that um, sometimes things you can use to your advantage on a normal road course, maybe we can't use to our advantage at Portland. And so you have to be mindful about the way that you attack the race and the strategy that you run. And our team's done a really good job of that year over year, but we've also qualified well, and it's made staying up front a lot easier. So we'll be at the mercy of that a little bit this week. But at the same time, that's why I'm glad I'm not a crew chief, and then I get to be the one holding the steering wheel because they get to make those crazy, difficult decisions.
All right, last question for you, and I appreciate you taking a moment of your time. What are race fans in for next weekend at PIR?
Well, number one, I think the whole event is very well run, right? Between the food, between the types of racing that we have on a race weekend, um, the opportunities to kind of walk around, see different parts of the racetrack. If you like racing at all, there's incredible racing going on all over the racetrack, and you can kind of walk around and see what there is to see. But if you just kind of enjoy live events, right? It's one of those places you can come out, you can hang out. It reminds me of going to like a festival or a fair. Kind of has that atmosphere, and when you're around that many folks, right? And you have the sights and the sounds. It really is a lot of fun. The interaction side of things is really big. Whether it be the group autograph sessions that we have for the Xfinity Series, or just the up close and personalness that you get with the cars and the drivers and the teams. It's just a really cool event, and something that every fan that I talk to kind of has the same comments of just how much they enjoy the atmosphere at the racetrack, and really just being a part of it. So I think that's something that for all of us, as teams and as drivers, we enjoy that part of it equally as much, and that's what makes us look forward to coming out to the Pacific Northwest. Is I feel like the fans and the experience there is really really cool.